30,000 kilometers ago, I set out to discover whether a newcomer like Jetour could actually earn a place on our roads, and more importantly, in our hearts. This is the Jetour X70, a badge that probably raises more eyebrows than it turns. New, ambitious, priced to tempt, but often questioned in the same breath. Is it worth the risk? On this review, let me take you through a total of 30,000 kilometers clocked on my friend's car and let you know what my feedback is and how relevant it could be to you on your decision on buying the Jetour X70. Before we talk power and performance, let's talk about the place where you spend the most time, the cabin. Jetour didn't cut corners here. In fact, the X70's interiors is where the price tag starts to feel like a bargain. Soft touch materials in all the right places, a clean dashboard layout, a panoramic sunroof that stretches wide enough to turn any mundane drive into something scenic. The infotainment system? Surprisingly slick. The touchscreen is large, bright and more responsive than I expected from a brand that is still earning its stripes. Bluetooth connects instantly, the audio system holds its own, and here's the kicker, the interface doesn't lag, even when juggling between maps, music and calls simultaneously. Apple CarPlay and Android Auto? Present, although sometimes a little finicky when reconnecting after a stop, but I've seen pricey rivals stumble onto that too. Now about that engine. The 1.5 litre turbocharged heart of the X70 is more than just adequate, it's enthusiastic. It's the kind of engine that surprises you in the middle of a long overtaking maneuver as the turbo spools in like a late but loyal friend, giving you that extra push when you need it. Highway stability is remarkable. Even loaded with family, luggage and a dog, the X70 felt planted. For a car at this price point, the rider's comfort on long stretches stands shoulder to shoulder with cars one above this segment. When it comes to fuel economy, the Jetour X70 offers a mixed bag, but one that leans on the practical side of its size and powertrain. Over 30,000 kilometers of varied driving from city congestions to open highways and even some small mild off-roading, I averaged around 11 to 12 kilometers per litre. In city-only conditions, the figure occasionally dropped to 9 kilometers, especially during stop and go traffic or when using air conditioning. On long highways, I managed to touch 13 km per litre, especially when driving with a light foot and minimal load. For a 1.5 litre turbocharged engine in a full-size 7-seater SUV, the numbers are acceptable. Not groundbreaking, but certainly livable. Well, of course, X70, like all machine, has its flaws. Push it hard on mountain climbs or during aggressive highway sprints, and the engine starts reminding you of its size. At high RPMs, the refined hums becomes more of a protest, and though the gearbox is most obedient, the city traffic reveals the occasional moment of hesitation. The suspension is tuned for comfort, not corner carving, and you'll feel it when you hit rough patches on sudden dips. It's a fair trade-off, but one worth knowing before you put the pen on that paper. But here's the part that matters the most. You and I both know that cars aren't just judged by the day you buy them, but the day you need them fixed. Jetour's after-sales ecosystem is still growing. I faced a couple of times a longer than expected wait times for parts during regular service intervals, and the service network isn't as widespread as its more established rivals. That being said, the brand seems aware of this gap. New service centers are popping up, and so far customer care has been more responsive than I feared. I've driven quite a few in this segment, and let's just say If you've ever sat behind the wheel of a Chery Tiggo 7 or even a used Hyundai Tucson, the feeling isn't completely foreign. Jetour seems to have borrowed pages from their playbook, a smooth ride, a techie-heavy interior and space management that would make some older Japanese SUVs blush. Talking cabin space, well, it's a mixed reaction for me. At the rear, I found it hard, especially with my height, to fit in on the third row seat. My head was constantly touching the roof on those long drives, and the space wasn't that enormous for adults, I must say. For children it should be fine, but in the front, well, this is one of Jetour's X70's aces. Whether you're a driver or the passenger, the legroom is generous. Headroom isn't a concern even with the sloping roofline. As I mentioned earlier, rear seats can be a bit of a shoulder war. So, 30,000 kilometers later, where do I stand? Well, the Jetour X70 has proven itself more than just a budget choice. It's a compelling, capable and a dare I say enjoyable SUV to live with, provided you walk with your eyes wide open. It'll charm you with its space, surprise you with its tech and impress you on long drives. But for now, the question isn't whether this car can go the distance, it's whether Jetour's support network will be there to walk the last few miles with you. For me, the journey was worth the gamble. Until next time, drive safe and stay curious.